Do you not want to be all that you can be, child of the light? Then stay tuned to this reading to become learned into a new knowledge that you may not be all too familiar with. The goal of these readings is simply to make you think, not to convince you, not to tell you what you should or should not do, just to illuminate you if we can, without making waste, and let us make haste. To all the gods watching, we must break the spell. Oh, what do you mean, mind of the virgin? To imitate means to begin, organize, to admit a person by special forms or ceremonies into secret knowledge, mysteries, or a society. From the moment we are thought of by our Creator, we become initiates of the boundless infinitude of creation. The first initiation comes by the way of the womb, where we learn to navigate the waters of the unseen. Once we pass through the Ankh gates of life, Mother, canal of the gods, we then gain initiative, which is defined as the active parts in taking the first steps in any undertaking, lead, readiness, and ability to be the one to start the course of action. As soon as we traverse the walls of our source toward HTE light of the unknown, we begin our rite of passage, which leads to fulfillment of our purpose and destiny, both as a collective and as individuals, given and commanded of us by the way of the supreme higher force. There are 5 steps to initiation: to know thyself, to heal thyself, to build thyself, to trust thyself, and to will thyself. Our journey in this life is of rediscovery and self-realization, which leads to greater depths of wisdom, knowledge, and inner standing, because the road, in some ways, is actually more valuable than the destination itself. The steps taken spawning humility, the daughter of grace, which then transforms into salvation. Or rather, man becoming the savior they were always meant to be. We as a people must educate, redeem, and enlighten our intentions. Man must maintain and cultivate his maturity, which is a motion toward self-responsibility. It is allos, a motion to common responsibility. The Greek scholar Pythagoras pointed out that the life of wisdom is in the life of discipline. We must come to know that discipline of the mind and emotions are difficult to attain. But what is more difficult is the discipline of the soul. The individual reading this must recognize that in this life there is a purpose, that we live not merely to suffer, that there is no particular merit or God in mere suffering, but that what we call suffering is a constant reminder to us of our own insufficiencies. We must learn to so accept it and to realize that it is God's way of reminding man of man's own need, and not merely something to be borne with patience or against which we should rebel with mental or emotional arrogance. The moment when you child or great than your problem, he can no longer suffer from it. By faith, man should know that surely as he himself exists, so surely in his existence, essentially good, if he knows how to attain goodness, then he is not in danger of losing anything real, but only what he has fashioned himself, which has no foundation in reality. If what he had fashioned were real, it would endure. Therefore, man never needs to fear that the rightness in him will fail. What he fears is that the wrongness in him cannot be sustained. And it cannot. Therefore, the tremendous conflict through which he passes. I understand this may have been a ramble, but I do indeed have faith you gained some insight from it. Inshallah. Whoever does not know self does not know anything, but whoever knows self already has acquired knowledge of the depth of the universe. Book of Thomas, Secret Teachings of Yahshua. There is a hypnotic spell cast upon the people of this realm. Some call it the spell of the sleep, of the subconscious mind, or what is commonly known as the spell of Leviathan, which is commonly enforced through capitalistic religious propaganda that prompts scriptures that keeps you thinking that someone is going to save you. When in reality, the helping hand that you're looking for is at the end of your arm. It is your hand. What is keeping our people under this spell and low thinking? The ancients call the force Ra, the disagreeable, or the negative side of the will. And the only way to de-story the negative force, or ignorance, is the acceptance of right knowledge, which leads to right thinking, which then leads to right action. What is right knowledge, you may ask, seeker? Right knowledge organizes and unifies the minds of man, individually and collectively. If knowledge is not to be confusing and thereby effective, then it must be a sequence. Knowledge received must be in an organized sequence in order to put the mind in order and unity. Dear children of light, we are going through a spiritual and mental revolution. Changing your mental status by right knowledge, wisdom, and overstanding brings change in spiritual status, because right knowledge destroys ignorance in the mind. It may be sometimes hard to accept some of these things, which is great. Question all things and hold fast to which is good. Though through social engineering, we have been reduced to one-dimensional status, which puts us at a severe disadvantage, for the world is multidimensional and is ever-flowing. Paradigm, always growing, changing, and creating. Hence, we must be on the same wavelength in order to maximize and realize both the depths and heights of ourselves. Stagnation leads to infestation, which ultimately breeds self-destruction. Simplicity is naturalness. Naturalness is wisdom. And wisdom in its purest form is common sense, which we have grown accustomed to ignoring in modern days and times.